Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, welcome to our last meeting of the month, which will be for sure an excellent one. Do we have some guests? Is it your third time or your second time?
So I'm joining now. Today,
you are joining now. Remind me your name.
Melissa?
Melissa. Melissa.
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome Melissa. And happy to get you here. Today it will be an important day because our two nice newcomers, I will say, will present their icebreaker speeches. So I am really glad to see what they have prepared and how it will go. But I'm sure that it will be two good speeches, I am convinced. Just before handing control of this meeting to our Toastmaster of the day, I would like to make two short announcements. First, I hope that you have all received this short email this morning from Lily, who reminds you that we will have very soon a new executive committee, because this actual committee will end at the end of June, and we have to think about our successor. We have some idea. We have found people who are willing to continue this nice adventure, but we are still looking for, you know, diversity, and so as Lily did it so well in her email, she wrote to you exactly what were the roles that needed to be fulfilled here, and she put a link. Lily, you can perhaps mention it. You put a link about each responsibility of each person of the committee to make it clearer for you, because it's not always so simple to understand what are the tasks of everybody. So I think that it will be good for you to have a quick look at it and try to find if one of these positions cannot match your interest. I think it's quite, as I said several times, it's quite interesting to be part of the executive committee. We learn a lot in terms of leadership, and so I will advise you to analyze exactly what should be done within a committee. Adot will be the one who will be there to lead us through this new executive committee. If you are interested by taking a new role, please address your wish to Adot. Okay? Thank you, Adot, for accepting that role. Second important point I would like to mention is that on Saturday we had our division conference here in Vienna, and some of us here attended this wonderful conference. It was really wonderful, and I really like you once to go there and to attend this conference. For me, I was really impressed by the job of the Club 551, who took over this initiative of inviting all the participants to this conference. First of all, I was very impressed by the organization they put in place and the handout they gave just before the conference. They were very, very professional, and I think that we have always to try to copy example and copy the dynamism of some people, and they were amazing. First of all, they submit 1 day or 2 days before the meeting, the conference, this agenda, and where you can see who was responsible of what for this conference. So it was really clear, really professional. After, they mentioned clearly that we had 3 kind of rooms, you know, because we had 3 different contests in 3 different languages, in Hungarian, in English, and in German. They gave us the program, and after, they mentioned who was attending the conference on a very professional way. We could see who was giving the workshop. They had 4 people giving the workshop. I think that I've never seen that in a conference. 5 different people, all people with a lot of experience in their field, very professional. I was impressed. And after, they introduced who were the contestants in each languages for each contest. I think this is called professionalism. I was really amazed by their work. They worked before the contest and during the contest. And the lesson learned is that they were all involved from the very beginning, and they started late. They started late because when we had our meeting, they did not know, I think 2 months ago, they did not know the date they wanted to select. But you know, at the end, it's not, the problem is not there. When they decided the date, after they were all hand in hand to prepare this contest. And I think this is the lesson learned from this, you know. They gave such an impulse that you could see that it was something smooth between each other, you know. They all took their role very seriously. I was also very impressed by the time management. It was also for us, and for me, a lesson to learn. They stick 100% to the program, you know. They had like a little bell, and they were interrupting the workshop, and they had in front of them very professional people. They were interrupting their workshop to mention that now they had to move. So it was really, really impressive. So my advice to you, try to attend once this kind of conference, because you will meet also a lot of interesting participants, you know, and all the winners. We had a lot of people from Hungary, all young guys, I would say, with such a dynamism. It was like at the time people from Slovakia. You remember this young? We had these young people from Hungary, all friends, and all like actors. Like, I think you should go once to see really what is Toastmaster and what we have to also improve here. You know, this dynamism, we have to take it from people perhaps still young and, you know, full of wishes. So, Nicole, did you want to mention something?
Oh, no, thank you. I just wanted to support what you said, and I attended about 6 conferences. And I think that the bigger the conference, the more interesting it is, because it's a very special atmosphere, and you are really confronted with people, the best of all the clubs, because it's a contest. So you see what you should aim at, you see the good points and the not so good points of all contestants, and like I said in my mail, what is also very interesting is the other workshops, because there are a lot of things to learn. Every time I go to a workshop, I learn something, and it can help you in your profession. For instance, I said in my mail that I attended a workshop on how to use flip charts effectively, and the person who gave the workshop said, I use flip charts, I don't use PowerPoints. But the way he does it, and he gave tricks, and I thought, no. And then I reconsidered, God, this is damn right, you know. Things I didn't know, and as you said, there are 5 workshops. You can't attend them all, but you choose one and you attend one. And again, what I find is that you will meet people. We met people I didn't know, and you get their cards and you give their cards. And there are people you might want to see later, professionally or personally. And I hope that we'll get at least one of them or 2 of them as guests here and speakers here. But, you meet people from very different countries, very different horizons, professional, personal horizons. It's, as I said, and I think you said it, it's a very special atmosphere. It's something to experience once.
Yeah, and for instance, I was quite impressed, you know, so because I was a keynote speaker in English, and I was evaluated by 7 persons. You know?
Oh, that takes guts.
Oh, yeah, and all this, they impressed me. All of them, I have to say. Their evaluation were brilliant. They were, and it was true, you know, everything came from the heart, and you see that they were really concerned. And what I appreciated even more is that the winner of this evaluation at the end came to me and said, I would like to get your feedback about my evaluation about you. And I think that this is something really, you know, that's the way we should work here. We should give feedback to each other in all kind of direction. And I think that we should try to go and reach that aim, you know, to learn from each other. Because we should improve at any age, and you know, and it was for me, all the candidates were
they were
very high.
The level was very high.
Okay, so now I have finished talking about this wonderful, I'm sorry, but I was so happy. I would like to hand control of this meeting to a very experienced Toastmaster. And yeah, I should not introduce, I think, Maria Teresa to you. Everybody knows her now, and yes, so the meeting is in her hands now.
Thank you, Madam President, Madam Presiding Officer. I'm Maria Teresa, but I'm not the Kaiser, I'm the Königin. I'm an American who came to Europe for a summer holiday and got stuck. After an almost fatal car accident in Italy, I ended up in Vienna. Now that's... I'm actually a charter member of this club, and we started in 1986. So that means someplace, somewhere, we should be organizing a 30-year anniversary party. I only can concur with what Valerie just said about conferences, because here in the club we do certain things, and I've been going to other clubs, and I noticed that Toastmasters do things a little bit differently. But we always have a format. We have prepared speeches, table topics, and evaluation. And once you know that, I mean, you can go anywhere in the world and be in a Toastmaster club. The other thing I liked about the conferences was the fellowship. You really feel like you belong to something. You know, here we're close-knit, we meet on the second and the fourth Tuesday of the month, and we're always rushing. We don't get too much of a chance to network or to socialize. In these conferences, you do. And as you said, and as Nicole mentioned in her email, you meet the most fascinating people. By the way, I thought your email was brilliant. At first I thought, who is this funny person addressing me? Because it didn't come in under your name. But your points were brilliant, and I didn't realize that you were the target speaker for the evaluation contest in English. Bravo! One other thing that Toastmasters gives you is an opportunity to go outside of your comfort zone. I mean, I know when I first joined Toastmasters, I never thought I'd be able to stand up here and not start stuttering or looking down or referring to my notes or whatever. But guess what? Practice makes perfect. Over the years, I've done things that if you had told me then, I would. Now, I don't come as regularly and maybe as I'd like to, but that's not a reflection on this club. Just a reflection on me and my projects, and I've just come back from the country, or I've been reading and gardening. But there are two reasons that I've decided I had to come to today's meeting. And those two reasons happen to be sitting over there, because we have two icebreaker speeches today. And it reminded me of how I felt that first time where I knew I had to stand up and out of nowhere introduce myself to the group. So gentlemen, my hat's off to you. I'm here quite a lot just to kind of see, you know, how you get through. Everybody's always petrified because the icebreaker, of course, is your first exposure. You know, you're introducing yourself. And just one thing about the conference, don't be put off if you hear that the level is very high, because you as a Toastmaster, if you've had enough speeches, you actually also can take a role. You could be a judge, you could be a ballot counter, you could be a timer. So you could get in on it. You don't necessarily have to be up there speaking. And this is before the fellowship is included. So we will have a Toastmaster meeting now. And I believe it's my responsibility to ask the grammarian for his word of the day. Would you please give that to us?
The word of the day is fellowship today.
Oh, you've already been checking off my usage. Perfect. We get a prize now for the most often the person who uses the word of the day most often?
At the end of the day, yes.
Okay, fine. Fellowship. Okay, it's all about fellowship. What a brilliant, and we're not in collusion, by the way, which reminds me, take this election seriously, because I have been following the U.S. Political situation. It's a circus. Totally a circus. But guess what they may end up having to fall back on, at least in the convention? Robert's Rules of Order. And we, of course, in Toastmasters prescribe to Robert's Rules of Order. We all are very, very good. When it's not our turn to speak, we don't speak. But somebody is going to speak right now, and you don't have to put your head down, because you're already, in the meantime, a competent communicator. When I looked at the agenda yesterday, it was the first time I saw CC against your name, and I was more than pleased. CC indicates somebody's going through 10 speeches in the basic manual. So, Toastmaster Rini, would you like to introduce your evaluation team for today's meeting?
Madame Toastmaster of the Day, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, it's only one person. I am the general evaluator of today's meeting, and my team Adot unfortunately has two roles. She will be evaluating one speech, plus she also will be the accounder to fill that cup. And grammarian is our Toastmaster Vic Tm, and timekeeper is Toastmaster Nicole, and our Toastmaster Valerie also has got two roles. She chairs the meeting, plus she will be the ballot counter of the table topics. This is my team.
Perfect.
I'm sorry. Toastmaster Krista will be evaluating the first speech.
Okay, Jim Larimore, who I don't know if any of you would remember that I do, always told me, never say you're sorry. It took me years because I dropped it frequently, oh, I'm sorry. And because he never told me why I shouldn't say it. But it only occurred to me many, many years later, when you say you're sorry, you're calling somebody's attention to a faux pas. So just say, oh, and then kind of just try to pick it up and say, I neglected to mention that Toastmaster Krista is also an evaluator. So don't say that I'm sorry. You know, flow. Okay?
Something we should learn, yeah. Toastmaster Krista will be...
It took me forever. It took me forever, and I thought, he's awfully hard on me. He's always saying, don't say you're sorry. In any event, thank you for the introduction of your evaluation team. So now, it's my great privilege and pleasure to introduce a relatively new Toastmaster. I was trying to pick out his brain because I just don't like to say, well, would you please come to the podium and give your icebreaker speech? I mean, it can be said, but I'd like to kind of, warm us all up and make us a little bit interested. Who is this chap over here? Well, he told me he came to Vienna in December last year, and I don't know how you found out about Toastmasters, but we certainly are glad you did, and we're glad you're part of this fellowship. When I looked at the agenda yesterday, I thought you must have a poetic bent to you, because I thought the title of your speech was intriguing, The Eyes of a Child. Wouldn't it be lovely if we, seasoned ones, could go back and look at life through the eyes of a child? So in order for all of us, each and every one in the room, to be an evaluator, I'm going to call upon the evaluator for this icebreaker speech to explain the objectives. What is the purpose of the icebreaker speech?
The first speaker is rolling, or
Yes.
are you changing it?
Well, you see, I didn't have on my glasses. Oh.
He's the second speaker.
No,
I don't
would you-
mind. I
Would you
don't
be
mind
very
if
offended? Would you be very offended if we let?
No, absolutely. Please.
Okay, so this sort of thing.
Yes.
Okay, so may I ask evaluator number 1 to mention to the entire club the objectives of the icebreaker speech? Project number 1.
Okay. The objectives of the icebreaker speech is to introduce the person to the fellow club members, to have a coherent speech with an opening, a middle, and an end, and to practice the speech and strive to make eye contact with some of the audience, and also to ensure that the project is complete to be within the time limit of 4 to 6 minutes. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam Evaluator. So without any further ado, I won't put you through any more wrenching here. I'd like to introduce our speaker, and I'm afraid I'm going to mispronounce your name, so please correct me. How do you say your name? Yassine?
Yassine.
Yeah, oh, I know. Okay. I'd like to introduce Toastmaster Yassine, who's going to deliver his icebreaker speech. Oh, it's fast.
Have you ever seen the eyes of a child when they're looking for something new for the first time of their life? Like, wow, it's flying, what is it? I want to be a pilot. Or somebody's entering in a house in fire to save people. I want to be a fireman. I don't know how you feel about this very particular sensation that I like to call having the eyes of a child, but I find this priceless. Today, to introduce myself, I will tell you why I became a researcher, then why I changed to become an explorer, and what was my greatest discovery. So, why did I become a researcher? The answer is pretty easy. In one word, it is curiosity. When I was a child, I just wanted to grow a long and white beard and spend my whole time in a laboratory. I know it doesn't sound very sexy to many of you, but that's what it was, and I saw researchers like a very noble activity, discovering new things with patience and wisdom, and then sharing it with all the community. But what looked like a nice plan in theory was a little bit different in practice. First, you don't discover a new thing every day. At least I didn't. And second, and please keep this between you and I, the work in laboratories in public institutions can be a little bit boring. I figured out one day that the more I stayed there, the less I had the eyes of a child. So I decided to quit and to become an explorer. What an excitement to be an explorer. Curiosity won't be satisfied through books and sciences anymore, but through traveling in very remote places, meeting new people, understanding their cultures. And I had the chance to work as an oil and gas prospector for some years and discover many remote places like jungles and deserts, islands. And I totally felt like a child there, and it was amazing. I discovered that each desert is unique. I literally fell in love with volcanoes, this particular sensation of being on the moon, or if you were the last person living on Earth. And all of this was amazing, and as you know all, traveling changes your life, the way you see life forever. But here is the thing, we adapt to everything, and what used to be magical at the first place started to become more and more ordinary. And in order to let me the chance to have my own family in the future, I decided to end this magical period of my life because somehow I consider that stories, the very nice stories you can experience, are only worth living if you can tell them someday to your children or grandchildren. These different experiences made me discover something that it's now time to share with you. I moved from more technical considerations to more human considerations, and I understood that the more I understood people around me, the more I understand myself. And you know what? It's great to discover myself, at least for me. I thought before that I had to run everywhere and to go far away and to travel in the most exotic places to keep having these eyes of a child. But now I understand that another possibility is to look closer and closer and to discover my inner world. And I think that it is maybe the most rewarding discovery I've ever made, because it would eventually put me into the right path to happiness, because how can you make the right decisions in your life if you don't know who you are and where you want to go? I have recently understood a quote I've read a long time ago from Albert Jacquard, which is a French humanist, that used to say that the veritable activity of a human being consists in his or her self-construction while interacting with others. And right now, while I am talking to you, everything makes sense to me. I am here to discover myself while interacting with you. And I think that this is the beginning of a great adventure for me, that will keep me having the eyes of a child for long. At least this is my purpose and how I define it. And just one last thing, as I have no children yet, and a few stories that you may be forced to hear, I think we can consider ourselves as a family, or as my new fellowship.
Congratulations, Pastor Lucille. Wow, an icebreaker. And you incorporated elements that usually people only do in much further speeches, I mean the props. And I didn't find out a whole lot about you, but I did see that you've got a marvelous sense of humor. You know, and humor is one of the hardest things to do when you're up here on the podium. So my hat is off to you, not the explorer one, but the eyes of a child one. And I see so much promise, so much promise. So maybe after all of this talking about conferences, you might think about going to the fall conference. Not maybe participating yet, or maybe, depending upon how often you go to Toastmasters, but just for the experience. So, one down, one to go. Robin, I didn't get a chance to interview you too much, but when I asked you where you were from, you told me you're French and, oh, merci, thank you very much. Since I don't like it, I always forget to mention this. This was something that was done in club and competitions, and we incorporated it now into our repertoire. So I give everybody in the club 1 minute time for reflection to jot down some notes on your impressions of Toastmaster Yassine's icebreaker speech. Oh wait, you will get a proper evaluation. But I think you will be fascinated, because it was for me, as I read these pieces of paper, the different things that people pick up on. So we pass that around and put it in a cup. I can do that. I can make myself useful.
Melissa.
is certainly more than 1 minute, but I think that feedback is so important, and I see some people really taking this very seriously. So we will at least extend the time. Or maybe I'll just leave this cup here, and we can pass it. So moving along to the second icebreaker in today's Toastmaster meeting, I was just mentioning that Toastmaster Robin, for me, is a very interesting combination. You told me you were French and Swedish. So I thought, what are we going to get? A café de mélange with what's it called, a Swedish meatball? No. Unfortunately, I haven't had the pleasure of hearing you speak, but I'm sure this is going to be wonderful because your title for your speech is Where Are You From? Yes, please?
Yes, sorry, Mrs. Toastmasters, I have just a point of order. Just to explain to the icebreaker speakers what I'm doing with my cards here.
To the whole club, actually.
Well, yes, to the whole club, I guess that most of us know. But it's just that because the icebreakers have only 6 minutes, 4 to 6. So what I'm doing is this: I'm showing when you've reached full minutes, which means you have 2 minutes to go, and that's when you've reached 5 minutes. You have 1 minute to go, and that's when you should try to wrap it up. Because usually it's 5 to 7 minutes, and that's 4 to 6.
Excellent point, excellent point. That's very, very good. And really, you said everybody in the club knows, but you know, you forget, believe me. I mean, it's even down here. But you know, we need to pronounce the infallible. But that's an excellent point. Thank you, Toastmaster Nicole. But we won't keep him on pins and needles. I'd like to invite Toastmaster Robin to come to the podium to deliver another one with props. Project number 1, the icebreaker speech. Toastmaster Robin.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster today. I found the best ever topic. So, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, it's my pleasure today to finally and officially break the ice between you and me. If I would ask you personally, each of you, the following question: where are you from? What would you answer to this? I'm sure some would answer the name of a country, maybe some others the name of a city, the name of a region. I personally would answer that I feel 40% French, 30% Swedish, 10% Quebecer, and 10% Mexican. Now I'm sure some of you are asking themselves, does Robin have all his 4 grandparents from a different region? And some might think also, he doesn't really look Mexican, does he? So let me explain a bit more why this is so, why I feel so. Why 40% French? Well, 40% French because I'm born and raised in France, and because my father is French, and so is my last name. I also feel that this French identity is how people see me. Let me give you a quick story. When I first lived abroad, I went to the hairdresser, and when I went to the hairdresser, I had barely had time to explain what kind of hairstyle I was expecting, that the hairdresser interrupted me asking, "Are you French?" And basically I was surprised and asked, "No, why are you, yes, sorry. Yes, are you as well?" And he said, no, I'm not. So I just wanted to say that it's pretty obvious for the people that I am French. Why 30% Swedish? Well, my mom is Swedish. I lived a year there. I have plenty of relatives there. I believe that a big part of my values and principles come from my mom. My mom used to point out the importance of honesty and well conduct, while my father used to tell me, foolishness is okay, but don't get caught. So I kind of followed the path of my mom. I take the opportunity to advertise this great Swedish chocolate that you can find in the commissary in Arabic. White 10% Quebecer. Well, I identify a lot to the Quebecers. I believe that I like their culture, that I like their political and social system. And I also especially like their cute French funny accent. Why 10% Mexican? Well, 10% Mexican. I lived 1 year in Mexico and I had the best time of my life there. I love Latino culture, I love Latino food, Latino dances, Latino climate. And many of my friends, Latino friends, used to tell me, you're French outside, but you're Latino inside. So maybe some of you have noticed that the percentages up to now only make up to 90%. Well, what about the 10 last percent? The 10 last percent would be my international identity or world citizen identity. I'm sure many in the room identify to this identity. Is the identity which you might develop living in an international environment or abroad, living abroad. And it's an identity that differentiates you from the people that have never lived abroad or in an international environment. But there are several other ways to get a feeling of identity from another place from where you're born. And these percentages I mentioned also evolve with time. I take an example. If your wife is from another country, and if you have a child with this person, well, there is great chances that you will identify to your child, and that you will identify through your child to the identity of the person you're with. So, Socrates once said, I am not an Athenian or a Greek. I am a citizen of the world. I believe I am French, Swedish, Quebecer, Mexican, and a citizen of the world. Thank you.
No. Again, I'm impressed with both of you gentlemen. I've seen icebreakers where people have been glued up here and basically, you know, following every single thing of what they've written. But both of you didn't rely all that much on your notes. And again, you're quite advanced for the icebreaker level. Bravo, bravo, bravo. So again, 1 minute time to give Toastmaster Lavine some feedback. By the way, for me, you don't have a French accent.
I take it as a compliment.
No, I actually kind of missed it. And to be honest, sorry, I shouldn't talk, but when I looked at the agenda yesterday, I wasn't sure if you were male or female.
Okay.
Robin can be.
You take it as an insult.
Well, I know now. That's why I had to come to today's meeting.
It's Swedish.
So since I have everybody from the back represented, I think I'm just going to leave the cup over here. But we'll make sure that you get all these little slips of paper. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, you make it if you want. So now that the prepared speech section of the meeting is over, we're ready to move on to the table topics. The fun part, where you never know what's going to come at you, and you only have 2 minutes to answer. But guess what? Sometimes 2 minutes seems like an eternity. We're in quite good hands with our table topics master, who I understand jumped in at the last minute. Much appreciated. And when I asked her if there was a theme for today, at first she said no, but then she changed her mind and she said climate change. Now it's interesting that some people in the US that I even spoke to when I was there for an extended period of time don't believe in it. They totally are in denial. But let's see what this crowd thinks. So let's see what the questions are. We never know what we're going to get. So I invite Toastmaster Brigitte to come and to deliver the table topics.
Hello Toastmasters, distinguished guests. I think most of you joined Toastmasters to learn something new. At least this was my main purpose why I joined Toastmasters. And if you want to learn something new, it should be, from my point of view, always connected with some fun. When I came to the first few times to Toastmasters, it was fun at the beginning. But when we reached this part of the Toastmasters meeting, when it came to table topics, my goodness, I always compared it like a thunderstorm. I had the feeling that dark clouds would rise. Sometimes even more dark clouds than this small one I have here. And out of these dark clouds, many of the flashes would appear, like it is normally in the thunderstorm. Flashes which I compared with their questions. And I was always afraid being hit by one of these flashes. So it was really, the climate, the weather was not so good for me in this specific part of the meeting. But you know how it is with thunderstorms. As soon as the rain comes, then the climate changes, the weather changes, and it's getting better and better. And the more answers were given, the less was the chance to be caught by one of the flashes. That means that I would be chosen to answer one of these table topic questions. So, I said we should have fun. Therefore, I would like to ask you to play this game with me, to have fun and choose one of the questions so that the sun will come out and we have a real change of the weather or the climate. So, maybe there is someone who volunteers to select one of these questions, otherwise I might ask maybe, are there any volunteers? Yeah, Toastmaster Esther. Choose whatever you like. Yes, please.
Okay. Did you ever think of leaving the room before the table topic? Well, I didn't really, but I was afraid a couple of times that I would be called to say something and that I wouldn't know what to say. And I tried to hide myself a few times as if I don't look up so that the eyes will not catch my eyes. So, oh, there's Esther. Let me call her to answer the table topic. And I think you really defined it really well. Like it comes, oh my God, yeah, I don't want to be called. But today I came back after being away for some time. And yeah, I thought, well, this is a good chance, yeah, to incorporate myself into the fellowship that we have. Yeah, and I'm happy that I have the boldness to come out. Thank you.
If you turn this flesh around, you know. Yeah. Start shining. So, who else would like to change the weather, the climate in this room?
Can I speak to this show?
Yeah, you can take whatever you like. It's only the...
The answer.
Yes. No, this is the question. Answer just says that whenever you start talking, it starts changing already.
How do you feel when answering your first table topic question? I really can't remember how I feel. I was nervous and I'm trying to come out of my shell because the main reason why I'm here and the main reason why I'm a member of this fellowship is for me to be able to face my fears and to be able to speak in front of people and stop being nervous. And if I go back to the question now, how did you feel when answering your first table topic question? I think I was nervous, really, and I was shy. I used to say I'm a shy person, but I'm trying to come out of my shell. And right now, I think I'm no longer as shy as I used to be. And back to the question she picked, do you feel like running out outside before you take top master? I was telling myself that, like, okay, I think I can run off for some few seconds, which I did. And I was thinking it was going to be a short one, but apparently, with all these questions here, it's going to take some time. So, unfortunately, I came back, and I'm still in the middle. I came back to maybe table topic session, still one day, and I told her, Rina actually encouraged me, and she's my interpreter as well. And I should come up and pick up the question. So right now, I think I'm no longer nervous, so that's why I've been able to overcome my fear, and that's why I'm here, to be able to answer one of the questions. Thank you.
So let the sun shine. So, any other volunteers for the research question? Then maybe I could ask,
sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to let you know the room is actually technically double booked right now. So as soon as you can wrap it up, that would be great. Sorry about that.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Maybe one more question? Who else?
Somebody do it.
Yes, please.
So my question is, what is your personal goal you want to reach through table topics? Table topics, as you know, enables you to deliver impromptu speeches, and it enables you to be ready to talk without any preparation. This is basically what I hope to achieve through table topics, and I think it will help me and all of us in our personal lives and also in our professional lives. Many times we are asked to provide our opinion, maybe in topics that we are not prepared, or maybe just at a table with some friends and we have to talk about different things. I'm normally not a very shy person, but still I think I can improve through the table topics. So thank you.
Vicky, would you like to take one question?
I'll just pick it anyway, okay? So, what are your expectations from table topics? Madam Table Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and I don't think we have any guests since you are joining today. What do I expect from table topics? To be able to express my opinions freely and to do it in such a way that others understand what kind of opinions I have or why my opinion might be important or relevant. So I have been a member of this club for quite some time, and the interesting thing is I have practiced this table topic speaking, and I have succeeded and I have failed. And I've succeeded again. Because you have to keep on training it, and you have to keep practicing. But I can promise you this, if you do still stick to it, it does not only help you to speak up and speak off the cuff, but it also helps you find your confidence, your self-confidence. It helps you to structure your thoughts. And as such, it will help you manage all kinds of things, not only speaking, but managing your life as a gentleman. And I think that is so valuable. And this is what all of you can expect from table topics. Sometimes, yes.
I think due to the short time we still have for the meeting, we have to finish now with the table topic session. I think you did a great job, and I really appreciate that you talked about your feelings, because for me it was really horrible, and it's still, they are not as dark as I showed here, but still some days, my goodness, please don't call me up to the podium to answer a table topic question. So it's still, even if I'm with the club for many years, but yes, I still don't like it. But I know it helps, and I have to learn to talk in your own talk. Thank you.
A most novel table topic. I mean, you put lots of thought and really excellent. I've never seen a table topic like that. Yes, please.
Could I just comment on this table topic session? I would like to congratulate Brigitte to this wonderful idea of depicting this table topic session, which really is so daunting to so many of us, and to actually turn it into a positive thing in such a wonderful and really clever way. Congratulations, Brigitte.
Absolutely, and along with all those songs, I think for the entire fellowship, we see a rainbow after the table topics is over. So we have to move quickly now. I invite Toastmaster Rina to, oh sorry, we have to go to the best table topic speaker. Would you like a recap?
Table topics?
The table topics.
Esther, Palade, Melissa, and Vicky.
And what's the new member's name?
Okay, as you're
Melissa.
voting and Madam President is collecting the ballots, Toastmaster Rina is going to start her evaluation. Toastmaster Rina.
Toastmasters honors guest. I think Valerie is already there, so we have to hurry up. May I ask Krista, Toastmaster Krista, to evaluate the speech of Yasin? Oh? No, Robin.
Maybe we should go in order with the
Okay, then Toastmaster Ador, the evaluation of Yasin.
Fellow Toastmasters and guests, soon to be member, and general evaluator. And Yasin, I don't think that was an icebreaker. it was too good to be an icebreaker. And I must congratulate you on engaging the audience, on keeping us extremely interested in your person while you're here. Your presence is really good. That's something you should focus on. You don't need to develop it much further, but it's an excellent skill to have as a Toastmaster, as a public speaker. And you already have it. It's a matter of just honing this skill. Your objective was actually to introduce yourself, and you did that in a relatively unusual way, in the sense that you didn't just tell us your name and how old you are and where you were born, whether you have sisters and brothers, and whether you like Vienna or not. You gave us an insight into yourself and your thinking and your philosophy. This is a very strong and powerful way of presenting oneself. It's educating us without necessarily giving us the details, which means we're all very curious to hear about these other details. And all I can say is that you succeeded, I say perfectly, in achieving the goal of introducing yourself to the club. And I can only look forward to the rest of your speeches. I hope it won't take you too long for us to hear from you again at the podium. Fellow Toastmasters, thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ador. Now I invite Toastmaster Krista to evaluate the speech of Robin.
Toastmaster Rena, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Robin. First, I have to thank you, and I know that I thank you on behalf of everyone here, because there was great attention to your speech. You did a fantastic job of holding our attention. You started with a beginning, you went through the middle, and you ended very well. There are three main areas that I think you focused on nicely. I have a minor area for improvement, and then I'll sum it up for us. First of all, as I said, you did the opening, the middle, and the end very well. You started out with a theme. You told us a little bit about yourself. You started drawing us in. And then you developed it towards the end when you had two suspense pieces. One was the 10% Mexican, which got our attention in the beginning. And you certainly solved that suspense very nicely for us. The second suspense was for those of us that add numbers up whenever we hear them. We came to the 90%, and you gave us that last 10%. This was an excellent way of doing your speech. You're also very good at storytelling and using props. And I'm going a little bit outside of the icebreaker because you've used some very advanced methods in your speech. So you're good at storytelling. Your mother was here, your father was here, your hairdresser was here, and we felt all of them during your talk. You also were able to not be distracting when you got your props out. Another difficult thing to do. I didn't even notice when you put the flag away again. So this is perfect. That meant we were concentrating on you. One thing that I would add, though, is that you could use your notes even less. They were not distracting, and they were perfect for an icebreaker, but you're ready to go the next step and use them even less. So you entertained us, you gave us your introduction, your middle, and your end, and we appreciate getting to know not only about your life, but about your perspective in your life. So To Robin, I look forward to you competing in a contest.
So I am sorry, but someone is waiting for the room. So I don't know if you want to make perhaps a quick comment of, about grammar or perhaps at least mention who is the table topic winner, but we have to leave the room because they are waiting for the room.
Let's go to the winner. Grammar was good for my side.
Timing was good, accounting was good.
Okay, so the winner for this table topic is Toastmaster Vicky.
Oh.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm happy. Thank you very much.
So, sorry for this inconvenience, but the room was double booked, and yeah, another group is waiting for the room. So, thank you very much, and I think it was a good meeting, and the speeches were excellent. The table topic also excellent, and see you within